Okay, guys, let's go ahead and finish out Vietnam. We are going to start on this hey LBJ, how many kids did you kill today slide. We're going to see if we can get this done. We are starting right after the Tet Offensive, of course, where the media portrays it as a failure, but it actually wasn't. One thing that I wanted to make sure that I got through to you is that it is almost impossible to sustain the Great Society and to sustain the Vietnam War. Johnson will be one of the landmark civil rights presidents, domestic presidents as well, with his Great Society and his improvement of the lower income living conditions in the United States. But what he will be remembered for is the escalation of the Vietnam War after the Gulf of Tonkin incident and the unbelievable stalemate and the kind of falling apart of the American morale due to Vietnam. Johnson's popularity, and this isn't a slide for you guys, but I might ask you this on a quiz question. Johnson's popularity in 1968 after the Tet Offensive goes from 48% of the American people approving him to 36% in 1 week. That's what the Tet Offensive did. Look at this propaganda poster. Has Johnson in the back, very, very scary looking. And the only color it uses is red. And of course it says Great Society with a child standing there, and what's in the background? The Vietnam War. You're going to see a lot of the problem with the Vietnam War is going to be the reporting of it, but also just the fact that we did not have clear-cut goals. Now, we did have a ground war. We did have Operation Rolling Thunder. We had napalm being used. You've seen the picture of the napalm girl. But the morale of Americans begin to dip in Vietnam. We are starting to see that this is not going to be a cut and dry war. This is not going to be, we have goals and we can achieve them quickly and we can produce and win this war. This is a different kind of war. It is a guerrilla war in a place that we do not have the means to be successful in. There is a disproportionate representation of poor people and minorities in our military as well right now. We're going to read a speech by Martin Luther King Jr. in class. It says you're going to fight these boys off to fight for a country that won't give them the rights that they're fighting for at home. He says there's severe racial problems. There's major drug problems. My dogs are going insane. There is also going to be just the idea that Americans don't know how to win this war and they can't really comprehend how to. There's going to be the hippie movement, obviously, starting. We're going to talk about that in a second. There is one person on this slide you want to make sure you know, Roy Benavidez. He's going to be the Medal of Honor recipient in the Vietnam War. He will be awarded, and here again you have a minority. Make sure you know it, kind of like Vernon Baker. Medal of Honor, Hispanic American. Sorry, my dog's kind of completely screwed me up there. Okay, so with that, effects of public opinion on the war. Remember, this is the very first living room war. There is going to be a situation you need to know about. It's going to be called the My Lai Massacre. Go ahead and pause this and get it down. My Lai Massacre. Now, with that, there was a Charlie Company, 1st Battalion, 20th Infantry in Vietnam, and it was led by a guy named Lieutenant William Calley, the platoon leader. They came across a village in Vietnam, and I'll be honest with you, it is very hard in Vietnam to know who is Viet Cong and who is an average just farmer. And when they come across, I do not know what ended up happening, but I will say that the American military, there is no way in the world they were not in the wrong on this. But they came across this village, and in the end, there ends up being 200 to 500 unarmed villagers who are massacred in this My Lai. Well, it so happens that an American reporter comes across this and takes a picture of it. It's kind of like the little girl who'd been burned by napalm. It leaves a very striking image to where, who's the enemy? Is it the Viet Cong or is it America? And with that, you start to see the dip and the idea that America is not all right, all perfect human rights leaders if they're doing things like this. Now, the other things that pop up, and I know you guys probably don't have this slide, but I will tell you it's going to be pretty important just to kind of see these pictures. These are the types of pictures that are going to be coming across every single night on television. Little boys, the Viet Cong. But here's the deal. as a military person, I will tell you, you never know who is the enemy. But I will tell you, there was one picture in particular, this Viet Cong. This is an American soldier. This was an execution on television. Obviously, I do not want to show you. It's a little too close range. I don't want to show you this. But the effect of the media, war is hell. But pictures sometimes sell a different story. So you're going to start to see this hippie anti-war demonstration movement kind of popping up, if you will. This protest is going to start to see anti-drafts weeks. They're going to have, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? Bring them home now. Burning their draft cards. All kinds of stuff like that. They're actually going to produce some of the best music in a long time. But this is the hippie movement. So I'll let y'all kind of listen to this in the background. I'll kind of dim it down a little bit because you know there's good music in this, okay? Anti-war demonstrations in particular are going to start popping up, especially on college campuses. This is going to be your youth, your flower power. Columbia University is going to have one. There's going to be some extreme ones at Kent State University and Jackson State University that we're going to talk about. But these anti-war demonstrations are going to pop up. Now, technically, this is going to be under Nixon, but I do want to talk about it because this is the Vietnam War as a whole. The one at Kent State University is the one you need to majorly star. May 4th, 1970, 4 students would be shot dead, 11 would be wounded. Because what ends up happening is a lot of these students are going to be demonstrating, and when police are called in, if any of them have any possible problems, where they have a gun or a weapon, then the police respond just kind of like they have to with force. But when these pictures, and this picture is the one that goes down as Kent State's, hits the media, again, the media is playing a massive role in this, it's going to be ugly. These demonstrations are going to lead to more demonstrations. The one at Kent State, of course, led to another one at Jackson State University just 6 days later. 2 dead, 12 wounded. There's going to be tons of people protesting this war, and they're going to be referred to as the counterculture in a lot of different ways. Hippies are one of the ways we're kind of thinking of as well. Now, this court case needs to go down, and in fact, pause it, get it down, because you need to listen to this. Okay, this court case is going to be called Tinker versus Des Moines ISD. Now, this time, they are not suing to integrate. This time, they're suing to protest. The situation is students were wearing black peace armbands to school, and what ends up happening is these peace, of course, this peace sign is a very hippie symbol, and these students, Tinker, okay, Mary Beth Tinker is going to be her name. They want to wear this armband, and it was actually to protest, to say that these soldiers shouldn't have to fight over Christmas. But long story short, she is expelled and suspended for wearing this armband to school because she lives in a very conservative place, Des Moines, Iowa. They take and they sue the ISD, saying that she has her right to freedom of speech. So they sue based off of the First Amendment. And the United States Supreme Court defined that constitutional rights of U.S. students allows them to protest as long as they are not disrupting the peace. This is going to be referred to, and I want to make sure you circle this right here, as the Tinker test. It's still used in courts and schools today to determine whether the school's disciplinary actions violate the student's First Amendment rights. But with this, Mary Beth Tinker effectively took on her school district and won because she said she should have the ability to protest. Going to be kind of important. We don't have time for that one this time. The other thing that they're going to be very upset about in the 1960s and the Vietnam War is going to be the draft. Now, with this, oh my good Lord, we need to talk about this. The draft is something that started during the Civil War, and it's going to end with Vietnam because of how unhappy people were. 1969, conscription. Draft lottery starts, which adds to the anti-war movement. Draft dodgers. Many draftees refused to report, and a lot of them moved to Canada. Muhammad Ali would be one of the most famous people who refused to report. Basically, how the draft works is it starts in December 1969. Men with a birthday between 1944 and 50 were eligible for the draft. 366 numbers were put into a tumbler. 258, the first number, were drawn September 14th. 195 birth dates were drawn. The second lottery used 26 letters to place the order of those drafted. J was the first letter. Basically, at any point, at any time, you could be put into the Army and sent to Vietnam. And we know for a fact that more men come home in body bags than ever before. And with that, it also gets put on the TV every night, which makes it even more known that people don't want to go to the war. Opposition to the draft was massive. You had anti-draft rallies. You had draft cards being burned at these rallies. Your counterculture is taking off like crazy right about now. In fact, they had a very, very famous chant. Here it is right here. Hell no, we won't go. Protesters at University of California in Berkeley, the Democratic National Convention in 1968 is going to be where they just keep burning their draft cards. And you have to kind of think of it this way. They don't know what they're fighting for in Vietnam. Vietnam does not look winnable, and these kids are being drafted to go and die. And here's another thing that they're pissed about. They're mad because they can be drafted at the age of 18, but they can't vote. 26th Amendment to the United States Constitution is passed after this, because at that point their voting age was 21 years of age. It's not for you guys. Obviously, the 26th Amendment changed that. The rights of citizens in the United States who are 18 years or older to vote shall not be abridged by the account of age. It was passed in 1971, so you're going to kind of want to circle that right there. But it was a direct effect of the Vietnam War. That's why we're learning it right now. You can see here, support 18 years or older. With this is some pamphlets that are being shown. I'm right here on November 4th. Vote yes, 18. Look at the quote they put by Lincoln. I go for all sharing the privileges of the government who assist in bearing its burdens. Think about it. If an 18-year-old can go die in Vietnam for this country, he should be able to vote for the commander-in-chief that sends him there. Another court case you need to know, Miranda versus Arizona, 1966. Make sure we get this one down. I don't think I'm going to have to spend too much time on this one because I think you guys are pretty smart. You're going to know this one. Miranda versus Arizona. How many seen Law and Order? You have the right to remain silent. Decided statements made in response to interrogation by a defendant in police custody were only admissible if they'd been informed of their rights. You know the Miranda warning. Anything you say can and will be used against you, yada, yada, yada. This is going to stem from a guy who was, I'm going to be honest with you, he was a burglar. And his lawyer came up with this amazing case where they said, oh, he didn't know his rights. He'd confessed, I think, actually. And Miranda versus Arizona comes into it as you have to be told your rights. You want to know who this protects? You might want to make sure you get this down. Protects the rights of the accused. Are we clear? Protects the rights of the accused. Miranda versus Arizona. Another bomb is dropped. 1968, Johnson announces, I shall not seek and I will not accept another term as your president. I'll be honest with you. You think he's going to win with the Vietnam War blowing up? No. So he decides in 1968, he won one election on his own, 1964 election, but he decides he will not seek and he will not accept another nomination for your term as president. He says, the remaining year I'm in office, I will devote to bringing the troops home from Vietnam and trying to win Vietnam. But it's going to be hard. That war is virtually unwinnable. And with that, as Nixon is elected in 1968, he'll have to finish the war. All right. Be ready for your quiz. It's going to be a good one.